Good morning again, honourable members. I'll call on the Minister of Tourism and Transport to grace us with prayers.
Let us pray. Almighty God, for whom all wisdom and power are derived, we beseech thee to direct and prosper the deliberations of Parliament now assembled, that all things be ordered upon the best and surest foundations for the glory of thy name and for the safety, honor, and welfare of the people of these islands. Bless our sovereign King Charles III, William, Prince of Wales, and all the royal family. Give grace to all who exercise authority in our Commonwealth, that peace and happiness, truth and justice, religion and piety may be established among us. Especially we pray for the Governor of our islands, the Premier, Speaker of Parliament, the Leader of Opposition, Ministers of Cabinet, ex officio members, members of Parliament, the Chief Justice, and members of the judiciary, that we may be enabled faithfully to perform the responsible duties of our high office. All this we ask for thy great name's sake. Let us say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us, and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon us, and give us peace now and always. Amen.
Please be seated. Proceedings are now resumed.
Administration of oaths or affirmations.
None.
Reading by the Honourable Speaker of Messages and Announcements.
Honourable members, it has been an intense few days with members sitting in the chambers for over 12 hours each day. I am happy that we're all here to deliberate over the people's business, and I want to go on record that it is my intent for us to start meeting more regularly. I've been conversing with the Premier about having a clear idea on when we anticipate that House will be in session for the benefit of all members, parliamentary staff, and civil servants. I look forward to working with the Premier on proposed meeting dates for the remainder of the year, and also setting out dates that we will be breaking for the summer. Having this type of schedule will prevent long days like what we've experienced this week. Members will have a better opportunity to deliberate over motions, bills, and parliamentary questions. I also note that as the day progresses on, the demeanour of members tends to change. Members start to speak louder amongst themselves, even whilst a member is on the floor. Some members start to quote songs, and before we know it, members may even start to stand and serenade us in this honourable House. All jokes aside, I would like to see us meet more regularly. I would wish to start the sittings at 10 a.m. sharp each day, so that we don't have a repeat of this meeting where we are leaving the precincts at 1:45 a.m., which then results in members struggling to arrive here on time. I look forward to all of your cooperation. Thank you.
Presentation of petitions.
None.
Presentation of papers and of reports. Report of the Standing Business Committee, second meeting of the 2022-2023 session of the Cayman Islands Parliament, to be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Business Committee, the Honourable Premier, Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, and Finance and Economic Development.
The Honourable Premier.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to beg leave to lay on the table of this Honourable House the report of the Standing Business Committee for the second meeting of the 2022 to 23 session of this Cayman Islands Parliament. With your permission.
Yes. Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak there too?
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. I think it's self-explanatory.
Report and recommendation of the Minister responsible for lands on the vesting of Crown Land Block 43D, Parcel 159, to Joy Evadne Jidari Singh, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of District Administration and Lands.
The Honourable Deputy Premier, Minister of District Administrations and Lands.
Morning, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the report for the recommendation from my ministry for the Government Vestings of Lands Act 2005 as it relates to transfer of ownership to Joy Vadne Jidari Singh. I hope I didn't slaughter that name.
Does the Deputy Premier wish to speak there too?
No, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Report on the recommendation of the Minister responsible for lands on the vesting of Crown Land, Block 11C, Parcels 2, 52, and 54, to Edgewater Holdings Limited, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of District Administration and Lands.
The Honourable Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the report and recommendation from my ministry under the Governor Vesting of Lands Act as it relates to Edgewater Holdings Limited.
Does the Deputy Premier wish to speak there too?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the disposition involves a land swap with Edgewater Holdings Limited. Both the Crown and Edgewater each owned some of the remaining 34 small land holdings that used to fully encircle the Peninsula's Avenue Governor's Way roundabout near 7 Mile Beach before the Estella Tibbetts Highway was extended. Individually, these multiple parcels are far too small to develop under the planning setback requirements, although they can potentially be developed where ownership is consolidated. In recent times, Madam Speaker, private ownership consolidation has begun to take place, and this has, as a result, enabled the small-scale residential development to the north of the roundabout. Edgewater Holdings is an owner of some of the parcels on the southeast side of the roundabout, including some that adjoin isolated Crown parcels. Madam Speaker, the company approached the Cayman Islands government and proposed a land swap. The intent of the swap is to reconfigure the respective land holdings of each party from isolated, undevelopable parcels to strategic development holdings. Such a swap is beneficial to both the Crown and indeed Edgewater, as it will increase the potential for development and therefore the value of both parties' land holdings. Edgewater has proposed to the Crown to transfer to it Block 11C, Parcels 2, 52, and 54, which have a total area of just 0.02062 acres. In return, the company will transfer to the Crown Block 11C, Parcels 58 and 70, which have a total of 0.0825 acres. Significantly, Madam Speaker, the result of the swap will give Edgewater 7 adjoining developmental parcels, and it will give the Crown 4 adjoining developmental parcels, plus a single strategic holding located between the 2 parcels registered to a third party. Madam Speaker, the 3 options of the amount of the premium that should be paid to the Crown by Edgewater Holdings in return for the swap are as follows. Lands and Survey Department valued at $235,000, Bowl at $156,000, and JEC at $175,000. After careful analysis and consideration of the reports provided, it was resolved by the Cabinet to advise at that time His Excellency the Governor to approve the vesting of Crown Land Block 11C, Parcels 2, 52 and 54 to Edgewater Holdings Limited in return for transfer to the Crown of 11C, 58 and 70, plus a premium payable to the Crown of $215,000, and recovery of government's costs. Stamp duty was waived. Accompanying this report are all of the relevant documents as required under Section 10.2 of the Governor's Vesting of Lands Act 2005 revision, including the valuation reports. Madam Speaker, as members have listened attentively, I trust that it would find a positive landing place in their hearts this morning.
Hazard Management Cayman Islands Annual Reports 2019, 2020, and 2021 to be laid on the table by the Honourable Premier.
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to seek your permission to lay on the table of this Honourable House the annual reports for Hazard Management Cayman Islands, beginning with 2019, 2020, and 2021. If I could have them laid together. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So ordered. Does Honourable Premier wish to speak to them?
Madam Speaker, just in general, obviously, in terms of some annual reports, there will be some justifiable sort of COVID-related delays. The objective, Madam Speaker, is to try to ensure that all reports are kept up to date as far as possible. I think it happens far too often without any specific justification, such as COVID, particularly, well, let me say, in my observation, it's too often that we have reports that are out of date by several years. So the objective is to try to ensure that they are brought up to date as quickly as possible. Madam Speaker, in relation to hazard management, Cayman Islands, this is a critically important organization to the government, to the people of this country. Madam Speaker, it has the potential to support and save lives and property, and to ensure that our disaster preparedness and hazard management is as good as it can be. Madam Speaker, it is recognized regionally as an excellent organization, very well structured, and one which I dare say others will want to emulate in terms of the structure and its record and contribution. Madam Speaker, the reports will reflect the performance of hazard management over the period of time relevant to the reports. We will all be familiar in reading those with the various events that that have impacted us, or that we have certainly learned from that could impact us. And I'm thinking in that situation of, a Dorian-type scenario, which could be regarded as significantly worse than what we experienced in an Ivan scenario. All entirely possible given the climate change-related circumstances that we are projected to potentially be exposed to, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, HMCI obviously played a very key role in the pandemic response, and I think they were extremely proactive. They got organized very quickly, even before there was a global declaration of the pandemic. So I think it really reflects our country's ability to be able to respond proactively, respond in time, and in some cases ahead of time, to ensure that we are best protected and prepared in order to serve the best interests of our people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to congratulate all of the staff at HMCI and those organizations that they work with. Obviously, I have had the opportunity to see them in operation on a number of occasions now, during the day, late at night, early in the morning, and they do an excellent job in preparing this country, Madam Speaker, for any eventuality that we may face. So I want to congratulate all of them. I want to take the opportunity to recommend, again, given the fact that we are now a month and a half away from the start of hurricane season again, and the reality is, Madam Speaker, that given, again, climate change impacts, we are finding that storms are not behaving like they have perhaps in the past. It's starting sooner and going later at times, Madam Speaker. So I think it would be very worthwhile for members in this Honourable House, members of the public, to make sure that they have a visit of Hazard Management Cayman Islands website, located at caymanprepared.gov.ky. It has some extremely useful information there, which we will all benefit from to be better prepared for any eventuality that may impact us. I'd like to thank those members who have participated in preparing the annual reports as well, Madam Speaker, and I commend them to members and to the public for review. Thank you.
National Trust Cayman Islands Annual Report 2021-2022 to be laid on the table by the Honourable Premier.
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Rise again to seek your permission to lay on the table of this Honourable House the annual report of 2021-2022 for the National Trust of the Cayman Islands.
Does the Honourable Premier wish to speak there too?
Briefly, Madam Speaker, this particular report is regarded as their legacy report. It's a fantastic document. It sets out an immense amount of information on the activities and achievements of the National Trust of the Cayman Islands, from protection and promotion of the blue iguana, our iconic fauna animal in the Cayman Islands that we are so proud of, Madam Speaker, that we have brought back from the brink of extinction. Madam Speaker, the trust also is clearly very important in the protection and promotion of other important aspects of the Cayman Islands, including, Madam Speaker, importantly, the national built heritage of the Cayman Islands. Madam Speaker, they do a great deal of very positive work on all of our three lovely islands. Madam Speaker, in my area, they maintain the old Savannah Schoolhouse, for example, which has served and was the place of education for many people who are still alive today, Madam Speaker, and who can speak to their experience there. Madam Speaker, the Trust continues its good work, and I certainly want to congratulate them at this point for 35 years of excellent work, hard work and dedication to the Cayman Islands and to the people of the Cayman Islands, Madam Speaker. They have, as I said, been very instrumental in contributing to the protection and conservation of our historic treasures, as well as the critically endangered flora and fauna of the Cayman Islands. And they do so, Madam Speaker, for present and future generations. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the staff, the council, the volunteers of the Trust, and I commend the report, the legacy report, to members of this Honourable House, as well as members of the public, Madam Speaker. As I said, it's almost a keepsake document that reflects so much of the history of the National Trust and what they have achieved, Madam Speaker. So thank you to all members of the National Trust who are involved in this excellent work, involved in the preparation of this report, and of course this brings them up to date with their annual reports, which I commend to this Honourable House.
Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands, General Report, 31st December 2021, Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, October 2022, and Report of the Standing Public Accounts Committee on the Report of the Office of the Auditor General, Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, General Report, 31st December 2021, October 2022, to be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House a report of the Office of the Auditor General, General Report, 31st of December 2021, titled Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, together with the report of the Standing Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Office of the Auditor General, Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, General Report, 31st of December 2021, October 2022.
Does the Honourable Leader of the Opposition wish to speak thereto?
Briefly, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that opportunity, just to mention to members that the report is really a general update on the Auditor General's audit of the 2021 financial statements for the government. The report was released in October 2022. We held a hearing in November 2022, and out of that outcome, and in this report from the committee, are the recommendations that we have made and certain commitments that were made by members or the witnesses that came to the appeared before the committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do commend the report to this Honourable House.
NDC, National Drug Council, Cayman Islands, 2021 Annual Report, Prevention, Education, Policy and Research, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness and Home Affairs.
The Honourable Minister for Health and Wellness.
Madam Speaker, I rise to lay on the table of this Honourable House the annual report titled Prevention, Education, Policy and Research 2021. That's ending 31st of December 2021.
Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak?
Madam Speaker, very briefly, I would just like to thank and take this opportunity to publicly thank the board, management and the ladies and gentlemen at the National Drug Council for their hard work in producing this annual report. And I would like to also publicly specially mention to the former chair of the council, Ms. Dorothy Manzanares, niece Scott, who served many, many years during this reporting period. And I want to thank her for her dedication, and definitely I lend my support to the current sitting of the board. And I invite members now of this Honourable House and the public to view these reports for further details. Thank you.
Questions to Honourable Ministers and members of the Cabinet.
Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in light of the agenda and the fact that it is after the hour of 11, I rise under Standing Order 86 to move the suspension of Standing Orders 23, 7 and 8 in order to allow questions to be put to members after the hour of 11.
The question is that Standing Order 23, 7 and 8 be suspended to allow questions to be asked after the hour of 11 a.m. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it.
The elected member for Georgetown South to ask the Honourable Minister of Education question number 21.
The elected member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask the Honourable Minister of Education question number 21 on the order paper standing in my name. Question: can the Honourable Minister advise what changes are planned, if any, to improve the quality of teaching in Cayman's public schools?
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The answer: the report from the Office of Educational Standards, titled the National Schools Progress Report of the Chief Inspector for School Inspections between 2018 and 2022, indicates an improvement in the quality of teaching in government schools. It is noteworthy, Madam Speaker, that the last inspection cycle in 2022, there were no government school lessons that were observed or categorized as a weak lesson. The government education system has continued to place a strong focus on the impact of quality teaching, as it is identified by research of the world over to have a critical impact on students' attainment and progress. The largest impact is seen in the collective teacher efficacy, where teachers believe that through their collective actions, student outcomes are positively influenced. Madam Speaker, some of the measures already in place include a modified recruitment strategy. Recruitment of teachers has always placed focus on getting the best teachers available. However, more recently, there has been a drive to hire assistant teachers, or ATs, who are also trained teachers. This allows for personnel that can lead a lesson if the teacher is absent for any reason, providing the classroom with multiple staff members that are trained to support and lead instruction to students. Teacher professional development, with focuses on developing and communicating high expectations to students, developing a sense of I can, I will within students, and helping them to transfer knowledge and skills across the various subjects. Implementation of responses to intervention with fidelity for students and the need for such programs. Helping our students to talk about and express their learning that took place. The effective use of cross-curricular planning, particularly in technology, numeracy, literacy, and science. Facilitation of collaboration opportunities within our schools and across the learning hubs to allow the teachers to learn with and from each other. The introduction of subject experts which are relevant to provide direct information to our students and improve our teachers' content knowledge in areas that benefit from direct expert interactions. For example, carpenters, accountants, culture and heritage experts, engineers, doctors, and the list goes on. From August 2023, Madam Speaker, mathematics specialist teachers will be introduced at the primary level to deliver mathematics lessons to our students and also provide exemplars for primary teachers to observe and develop. Additional assistant teachers will be supporting classes from Key Stage 1 through 3, providing additional opportunities in classes for teachers to organize specific and targeted support for students in the class and through pull-out sessions. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks to the member.
Are there any supplemental questions?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I'm sure the Minister will be heartened, as I am, to see that the Office of the Education Standards has reported significant improvements in the quality teaching in Cayman secondary schools. However, the inspectors also found that teaching quality has remained stagnant in the primary schools, and that this presents a significant barrier to raising education standards. And I think this is particularly focuses on mathematics. And I see where in your answer you do indicate that you all are recruiting mathematics specialist teachers starting in August 2023. Now, what happens to the students that need assistance now? Because I know for a fact that my granddaughter, she has to get extra tutoring for math. And so I need to know what's happening in the primary schools now and for those kids that continue to struggle in math.
Honourable Minister for Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks to the Honourable Member from Georgetown South. Madam Speaker, there is internal quality assurance that occurs at the Department of Education Services, as well as the principals carry out the external quality assurance which they get from the OES office. What this does, Madam Speaker, is to allow them to assess and implement as soon as practical possible the interventions that are necessary. We also currently have numerous specialists that go in, albeit they're insufficient, but that's why we're excited. Once we took the paper to Cabinet to ask for the additional, and I stand to be corrected, Honourable Speaker and Member, but I think it's some additional 14 specialists. The idea behind that is that those of us who are teachers, normally you get a general qualification from K through 12. And so you'll find that across the spectrum, some teachers may be stronger in math or English or science, but they're still generalist teachers. And as we look at the statistics, and we're student-driven and based on the statistics we get, we try to tailor our curriculum and our teaching modulars accordingly. It became very evident to me that we needed, after having successfully improved the numeracy and literacy and science, turn more attention to math. And so it is an innovative way where these 14 math teachers, God's willing, come August, will, if I have my way, and I have to be, I don't want to say word, but I have to take cognizance of Section 55 of the Constitution, where that's under the ambit of the Honourable Deputy Governor. But the Constitution does give me the authority to deal with the management of the ministry and make general policy. And because it is the of national interest and well-being of all and sundry, to ensure that we move to world-class education, which hopefully will end up with world-class civil service, and that they'll all get jobs within the civil service. And so that before my eyes are closed, I can hear Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members that 100% of the civil service are Caymanian, and they came out of the public schools and our private schools as far as the Caymanians are concerned. That's not a selfish aspiration, and I'm sure that's why the member is interested in it. Yes, there will be a less than satisfactory period between now and August. It does mean that children will not get attention, but it will drastically improve, in my respectful submission, once we get those math teachers in, because I'm not sending them in as monitors or observers. They will be the one, those math specialists, Madam Speaker and Honourable Member, who will be actually teaching math to our students, because those of us who studied logic, math is no difference, Madam Speaker. It's a building block, and if you get the rudimentary foundation wrong, it's difficult to catch up in the later years, because it's like a domino effect. And so, Madam Speaker, I would ask all honourable members if they are friends or have access to math specialists or accountants within the community who want to do some good community work as we nation build. Ask them to contact the Department of Education Services, and once they go through the child safety programs, we would be happy to do what they're doing with Jubilati, where we've introduced music after school to those children who would never have that opportunity. I can see that that would be an appropriate bridging gap through August and beyond. And so I thank the member for the interest in that regard, and to say that it is an ongoing process. It's not a utopia, but the department and ministry is making every endeavour together with the support of the government on both sides of the aisle to ensure that there's no child left behind in the system.
The elected member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just have one more question to the Honourable Minister. Is there any appetite for perhaps some summer school programs for those kids, those students, perhaps going from year 6 into year 7? And I know some of those students really struggle when they actually leave primary and go into secondary. So perhaps the minister may consider some summer school classes or something to assist those students that continue to struggle. I just think that might be a good thing in terms of assisting them. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thanks to the Honourable Member for asking this supplementary. I thank you for your indulgence for allowing me to consult with my acting Chief Officer, Ms. Lynette Monteith. I just wanted to confirm that the discussions had commenced in that regard before I gave my response, and I'm happy to report that I'm reliably informed that discussions to that end, where this summer we'll be introducing those summer classes for the children that actually need it. So I'm happy to confirm that the discussions have commenced.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is not a question. I just want to thank the Minister, and I'm heartened to hear that. Thank you.
The elected member for Georgetown South to ask the Honourable Minister of Education question 22.
The elected member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to ask the Honourable Minister of Education question number 22 on the order paper standing in my name. Question: can the Honourable Minister advise the House how many assistant teachers have been employed since the end of the last school term, and provide a breakdown of the schools in which they have been assigned?
Honourable Minister for Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thanks to the Honourable Member from Georgetown South. Madam Speaker, the answer. The following table outlines the number of assistant teachers hired since December 2022. The school cost centre and the number of assistant teachers hired as represented on the two columns there on primary schools. The Creek Primary School 2, Easton Primary School 1, Edna Moyle Primary School 2, Georgetown Primary School 6, Joanna Clark Primary School 5, Prospect Primary School 7, Red Bay Primary School 11, Sir John A. Cumber Primary School 8, Spot Bay Primary School 0, Thierline Primary School 4, West End Primary School 2, subtotal of 48. Special schools, the Lighthouse School is 0. They were sufficient. High schools, SIFAC 3, Clifton Hunter High School 8, John Gray High School 6, Lehman Scott High School 3, a total subtotal of 20, the aggregate sum of 68, Madam Speaker.
Are there any supplemental questions?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have one supplementary question. I think the minister had indicated in a previous statement that we would be recruiting 80 assistant teachers. So I know your answer states 68. Are we planning on fulfilling that 80 or filling those recruiting in up to 80 assistant teachers? And if so, will they be fully recruited by the first or the next school year?
Honourable Minister for Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is correct. The funding is in place for the 8 assistant teachers. It's just the time that it takes to recruit them. So I'm reliably informed that the remnant for the 80 will be in place for August of this year when we commence the next school year.
The elected member for Red Bay. I'm sorry, for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just have one last question, supplementary question. Can the minister indicate what roles are being carried out by those assistant teachers?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I was batting for cricket, I've got 2 for 2 because those were the 2 anticipated supplementaries. So here's the answer, Madam Speaker and Honourable Member. Assistant teachers include those professionals that would be utilised in a mainstream classroom for general mainstream support. And those will be providing targeted support with individual children and their groups of children requiring specialised support within the class or within the interventions for specific subjects. And obviously, they will fill in as well, Madam Speaker and honourable colleagues, whenever they're sick or we have to go to remote learning. It gives that extra pair of hands, as we are now requiring them to also have teaching certification so that the children will not lose any valuable time out of the day, because we already lost quite a bit under the COVID years.
Elected member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have no further supplementary questions, and I want to thank the Honourable Minister for her answers.
The elected member for Georgetown East to ask the Honourable Minister of Tourism and Ports, question number 23.
The elected member for Georgetown East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to ask question number 23, standing in my name, to the Honourable Minister for Tourism and Ports. Can the Honourable Minister advise when he will make public the cruise tourism strategy that was commissioned by the Ministry of Tourism and announced by him in September 2022?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Port.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The answer. The original request for proposal for a cruise tourism strategy to be produced by a private sector firm will not be made public because the strategy is no longer being commissioned, as the strategy is now being produced within the ministry. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are there any, the elected member for Georgetown East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for the response, but then can you give us some indication as to when the ministry produced strategy will be made public and rolled out?
Minister, Honourable Minister for Tourism and Port.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the question. Madam Speaker, as this Honourable House may recall, the purpose and the reason for the private sector firm request and strategy was on the basis of the numbers that were expected or we would hoped to have come back to as per the 2019 figures. As a result, Madam Speaker, the country knows that with the decision of the people to decide to not move forward with a cruise pair, the industry, through the cruise lines, has made some adjustments to their calls within our ports. And as a result, Madam Speaker, the numbers for the next 3 years at least are in the region of 20 to 25% less than the 2019 numbers. As a result, the need and want for a holistic strategy for an outside firm to create is not as pressing as it was before. And also with discussions with some of the cruise lines to use some of their own professionals in-house to help guide my ministry in respect to the movement of passengers at our ports. We believe that we could save the country money and not have to pay for an extensive report with a private sector firm. As you know, Madam Speaker, these reports usually cost within the region of $50,000 to up to $100,000. And I'm happy to say that the port board and management have met with a particular cruise line who specializes in the movement of passengers in various ports. And discussions have commenced, recommendations have been made, and I'm awaiting, after the sitting of this Parliament, to be debriefed by the board of the Port Authority as to the new plans moving forward in respect to the movement of passengers at the location of the port. Now, Madam Speaker, the strategy wasn't only about the port location, but about across the islands. And the strategy and its sense of a strategy or a document, Madam Speaker, is going to be a combination of things that we are doing within the ministry to try to address the problem upon which the report was requested for in the first place. Madam Speaker, the member who posed the question would also have heard where we are intending to try to diversify our cruise tourism offerings more to the eastern side of the island. We think that that will also be a help to the congestion caused by cruise passengers when we have high numbers of cruise ships in our ports. The combination of many effects within our ministry will be the strategy as opposed to a document formulated. And Madam Speaker, I am happy to provide the Minister, when we deliver in respect to the budget, all the levels of different strategies that we think collectively together will come as a way to reduce the stresses and burdens and the pressures of the cruise industry customers that we gratefully appreciate and know gives our people work.
The elected member for Georgetown East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I heard all that he had to say. So just for clarity, in the interest of clarity, there is no strategy document as such that's being prepared then by the ministry. Is that correct?
Madam Speaker, through you, there's no particular document, Madam Speaker, but mere so a series of actions and policy directions on how to handle the tourism traffic from cruise passengers. So there's not a document for me to present to this Honourable House, but more so a series of actions within the ministry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That really was the information I was trying to elicit.
The elected member for Georgetown North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I heard the honourable member yesterday during one of his debates, and he repeated again today, that the people have spoken and there'll be no cruise pairs. Was there some sort of poll done, or did I miss the referendum? I just need some clarity on those statements.
Honourable Minister.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Matter of fact, there was a very notable poll. It was called the elections.
Are there any supplemental questions? The elected member for Cayman Brack West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just for clarity, let me just understand this from the minister. Originally, there was an independent study that was going to be done, overarching, to look at cruise strategy. Now, in your statement, you're saying that a cruise line from the cruise industry is going to be guiding this study?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll see if I can try to clarify by giving a little bit more background. Madam Speaker, if you may recall, or this Honorable House may recall, in public utterances through press conferences and so forth, there was going to be a combined strategy request, one where transport was also going to be connected. Now, Madam Speaker, we thought that because cruise tourism had the strategy we were trying to focus on in respect to cruise was the movement of the cruise passengers. And after discussions and reports and feedback from the cruise lines that the numbers were going to reduce, as well as the estimated cost to do a combination report, we decided to hold back on the cruise part of it, because based on our discussions, we saw ways that we can find solutions without the extra analysis. So we moved forward with the transport report, which the members of this Honourable House are quite aware of, and that has been passed over to the Honourable Minister for Roads. So, Madam Speaker, the initial strategy was on the basis of movement of persons. And because we separated the two, due to the numbers that were being presented and the ability to get some of these solutions without the heavy cost of a report, we decided to do it in-house. Hopefully, that may have explained a little bit more as to why we decided not to move forward with the independent firm to do it.
The elected member for Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Minister for his reply and answer. I want to make sure the Minister understands that the opposition supports the idea of bringing expertise from the people who are in the business and certainly understand the industry. I think that our obligation and thought today is that this is an overarching need. There are thousands and thousands of jobs at stake here in this element of 25% of our economy. I want to make sure, or we want to make sure, that the way that it's being looked at, again, that it's overarching. You have said that you're concerned about diversification into the Eastern District. Also the concern about the port itself and how these two tie together. My thought, I think I'm shared with the opposition, is that an independent group would have looked at all of these and put them together for the ministry to review. I just want to make sure that we're clear on all of the issues are being approached at the same time and in tandem, taking advantage of some of the synergies that each one create. Example being that the port itself, which has to be enlarged, as you have eloquently explained, will also give opportunity for smaller vessels to come to that dock when it's expanded and grown. So the question is, your ministry will be looking at all of the issues rather than just an independent look at the cruise. You will look at all of the connectivity to the tourism aspect of it.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the member for the question, and I'm in agreement with him in respect to having a view from all aspects of the industry. Madam Speaker, as the Minister, as well as a Cabinet member, my job is to try to accomplish all goals with the least amount of spend possible. But that doesn't mean that we can't do a report at another date. Madam Speaker, we made a decision within the ministry with those who advised me as to the need to do such a severe report. Madam Speaker, I think the relationship with the organization, the association that has many of the stakeholders in it, the Cayman Islands Tourism Association, along with the direct cruise associations, that with the combination of willingness to work together, we can find these solutions without having to pay thousands of dollars for a report. But if I find that, or if the ministry and the government finds where there is not enough answers to some of the issues upon which a report would be requested, then we are happy to do that again. Because normally what will end up happening is you go to either Deloitte, KPMG, or so forth, and they will go out and ask these same specialists that we are already speaking to directly. So by all means, Madam Speaker, I know the member's question is based on making sure there's a holistic view on trying to find the best ways to solve the issues that relate to cruise tourism. But we believe within ministry, with the communication and the willingness to work together, we can find those without necessarily having to do a report. But we haven't closed the door on that, and if that is, we feel it necessary, I'll present that to my colleagues to give me the financial support to call for such a report again in the future.
Thank you. I want to thank the member for that answer. And this is my final question. I just want to, in the capsule, make sure that I understand what you've said is that you will put everybody in the same room, Tourism Association, water sports, road issues, and come out with a strategy that benefits the cruise industry.
Honourable Minister.
Maybe policy is a better word, a policy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think we're in agreement with what he said. I didn't say I would bring everybody in the same room, but I think we're in the room together at some point, maybe not all at the same time. But I am open to having a more, and even inviting the former minister to come along, because he knows I take guidance from him. I call him off the record many times if I feel I need some external advice. So I'm happy to do that, and interestingly enough, the associations of CETA and I are going to be meeting, I think next week, if my memory serves me well, on another very important matter. So by all means, we will be in constant communication while we develop a more documented strategy that maybe you can examine and hold account to the administration, which is, I think, what fundamentally is being asked for today. But I want to ensure the member and those opposite the government and the listening audience that we are looking at this on a holistic viewpoint. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Statements by honourable ministers and members of the Cabinet.
I have given leave to the Honourable Minister of Youth, Sports and Heritage to make a statement.
Morning, Madam Speaker, and thank you. After hearing the Leader of the Opposition state that, or seem that to be lost on what has been happening, even though it's all on top of the website, I decided to make a statement to let this country and the House, this Honorable House, see an overview of achievements, activities, and upcoming plans for the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage. I've asked a copy of this to be given to everyone. The ministry includes 2 government departments and 3 statutory authorities and government companies, which include the Department of Sports, Youth Services Unit, the National Gallery of the Cayman Islands, the Cayman National Cultural Foundation, and the Cayman Islands National Museum.
As you know, Madam Speaker, these subjects are very dear to my heart and to a lot of people in this country. They are a very important part of who we are and who we will become as a nation. Madam Speaker, over the past 2 years, despite many challenges faced, this ministry has worked to develop many areas of these subject areas, from policies to programming, all the while advocating for and supporting efforts toward achieving our key priorities, which are: 1, talent identification and development. And a lot of people usually assume that that's just in sports, but it's also in the arts, it's also in singing, it's also in the people doing the artistry work. Enhancing and empowering our youth, and awareness and preservation of culture and heritage. This last one, I think the country has neglected as a whole to do serious work in this for too long. It is important that I share some accomplishments with you, not just those of our ministry, but those of our young people, athletes, and community. These accomplishments have been supported through efforts by my ministry, which has allowed for greater partnerships and new opportunities to support our young people across a wide range of activities and events. And once again, I'd like to thank the Education Ministry and the Department for working closely with us. Providing over $280,000 in youth and sports grants in 2022 and 2023 to aid in sports development. Provided $300,000 in culture and heritage grants in 2022 and 2023. Provision of one-time sport academic grants for 18 athletes to attend schools overseas between 2022 and 2023. Re-establishment of the National Youth Commission and the establishment of a National Sports Commission. Commencement of upgrades by Department of Sports through investments in facilities management with the purchase of new stadium lights and upgrades to Lions Pool. Cayman Islands' participation in Young Chef and Young Waiter, which gave way to opportunities for local winners to gain experience in London with Michelin star chefs. Madam Speaker, members of the listening public, we've just had young Brittany Borden return after spending time in London with our help at 3 different restaurants. One, a Michelin star, another one with 2 Michelin stars, and another with 3 Michelin stars. Restaurants like the Rochester. Madam Speaker, those in the culinary world will tell you this is nothing short of awesome. This is a great event. The restoration of beach volleyball courts and the first hosting a Cassava tournament in the Cayman Islands. Hosting the first Youth Empowerment Symposium. This was a great success, Madam Speaker. A lot of the panelists were local young people who have come from some places in Cayman where we would expect that these great role models did not come from, should not have come from, but they have. In taking this thing apart, the only thing that I feel that I did not do good enough in this was the target audience. But my staff and I, we didn't go into this saying that it was great because everybody said so. We're looking on how to improve this for next year, God's willing. And we will know the target audience will be better to meet what we want to meet. We also took part, Madam Speaker, in the second WADA Forum for Caribbean Sports Ministers. Some people would wonder, what is WADA? Well, if we don't pay our dues to this as a country, and if we don't take it serious, none of our international athletes can participate in anything, anywhere. A Cayman Christmas, an event that showcased talented singers from our schools and churches throughout the island, Congratulations must be made to a small but strong voices of Red Bay Primary School Choir who won our inaugural choir competition. Implementation of various activities to support the current national cultural and heritage policy, including the review and alignment of the policy aims for the development of actions and future updates. Securing historic sites and new facilities for the expansion and promotion of artifacts, events, and Caymanian culture through the West Bay Museum, which is otherwise known as the Car Museum, the Pink House, which is in Georgetown, and the West Bay Heritage Site. And also the Fairweather, which was one of the last built Caymanian boats. We are assisting in bringing that back home. And there's another, the last one that was made home here in Cayman, that the Premier and myself will soon go to investigate to see what the possibilities of bringing this home. Madam Speaker, we must let our young people know what and where we're coming from. Because if you know this, we can have pride. Establishment of the National Dress, Dish, Dance Committee to identify national icons and build more on our national pride. Historic Built Heritage Task Force to review current legislation on buildings and sites of historical relevance and determine future needs to preserve our heritage. This one, Madam Speaker, is very close to myself and the Premier. An Emancipation Day Task Force has also been established to review and consider the historic relevance of Emancipation Day and Caymanian culture. Madam Speaker, it's just recently that I learned the true story of how our emancipation was compared to the rest of the Caribbean. And we are unique. And we must let our young people know the uniqueness of our country and of our history. Madam Speaker, increasing spaces for local artisans to display and sell their work in private ventures through sponsorship and partnerships. We have also worked to recognize, support, and host special events for our athletes and celebrate in their accomplishments, which have been significant for our small country. Some of these include Aaron Jarvis becoming the first Caymanian golfer to be invited to the Masters, Jordan Crooks, who gave Cayman his first ever world championship medal in any sport. Say it again. The first time in our history of a little country of 40,000 of us, and we have a world champion. Carifta athletes including Devontae Howell, who brought us our first gold medal in the 100-meter for men. This event has been dominated by Jamaica, and all these other countries have millions. We have 40,000. We also had the young man, Andrew Stone, who won the gold medal in the high jump. And if he had not had a sore back, he would have won a gold medal in the high jump. But he's now rated number 2 in the world in the under 18 category, and he's only 16. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, then we have Jillian Crooks, who broke records at both local and regional levels. We also have Sierra Broadbelt, who led the gold medal for swimmers in her age group. 8 gold medals. How many? 8 gold medals. And from the district of East End. And yes, she's from the district of East End, but she looks like a West Bear. She's beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Speaker, we also must congratulate our young national cyclist Nathaniel Forbes, who was the only 20-year-old to place in the top 10 at the Jamaican Classic, and all the others paving the way for competition for the Cayman Islands. And this Nathaniel Forbes will be receiving an official invitation to go to Europe now, ladies and gentlemen. In spite of having it hard because of certain circumstances, he will be going to Europe now, ladies and gentlemen. Honourable members and Madam Speaker, our efforts have also greatly been improved through the establishment of new processes to determine how funding via the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture and Heritage is dispersed. This ensures alignment with the government's broad outcomes as well as our priorities as a ministry. As we look ahead to the upcoming budget cycle, I am excited to share our plans. We are currently in the final stages for consultancy to assist with the development of the national policies for youth and sports. And these draft policies are expected for public consultancy in 2023. These policies will allow for a comprehensive framework for the delivery of youth and sports initiatives in a strategic manner as we plan for the development and implementation of policies, programs, and activities with the necessary funding to guarantee success. Madam Speaker, this is where I must say I will continue to ask my colleagues in the PAC government to ensure that the funding is there. There's a lot of great things coming down the pipe for our young people in this country. The Youth and Sports Commission will be responsible for monitoring the implementation of the national youth and sports policies and provide governance to improve standards and accountability of youth and sports activities and organizations. In order to reach more persons in this community, programming and activities will be considered at a community level to improve access. These include culture and heritage displays and events, increased district sports and youth activities alongside intergenerational programming. Another example of this, Madam Speaker, is working together with the Education Department and Ministry to now we have access to a beautiful pool up at the Clifton Hunter that the Eastern and North Side and Bordentown districts, that we can now get another swim club in that area to build on this upward swing of where we're seeing where swimming is going, putting us on the world map. Madam Speaker, we have Jordan Crooks, who's a world champion, but guess what? There's another 3 or 4 coming behind that have the potential to do the same thing. We cannot make this pass. And the very first speech that I made as a minister, I told the country we needed a 50-meter pool. And the other day at Carifta, Madam Speaker, 5 of the top countries, 5 of the people who finished in the top 5, and Cayman is the only one that did not have a 50-meter pool. And everybody is now saying, if Cayman gets a 50-meter pool, we're going to blow up, not only regionally, but world-class. Madam Speaker, I hope this country will realize when an athlete becomes a world champion, what it does for us in the eyes of the world. They can't question it. And it's free, at times, PR for our country. And we've been blessed, Madam Speaker, with the people like Aaron Brooks, Aaron Jervis, Jordan Crooks, Stone, and Devontae. God has blessed us that they're all humble young people who are godly. We are, thanks to the man sitting to my left, we are working very hard on building public sector partnerships to help fund us, to help fund some of these things. We're also working with the private sector partners to return historical items, improve sporting facilities and competition, as well as create new opportunities for our artisans through academic and exhibit experiences. Madam Speaker, as this Honorable House has heard, my team has continuously worked to achieve the broad outcomes of the ministry. We have sought to develop the area of youth, sports, culture, and heritage through policy and infrastructural development, but also by ensuring we are able to preserve what our forefathers worked hard to build. I would like to close by acknowledging and extending my heartfelt appreciation to my chief officer, the ministerial team, Ms. Joan West, Ms. Melissa Worms, the 2 deputies to her. Madam Speaker, Ms. Echenike has done an awesome job, having to put up with myself. Madam Speaker, the dedication and passion and also for their support and guidance. But the Premier, Madam Speaker, can let this country know that if there's one section of the civil service that don't watch clock, you walk into my ministry and they're there 5:30, 6 in the morning. You walk through there 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. They're not staying at home. They're working. I would like to thank them for their support and guidance. Madam Speaker, and to the listening public and to this country, we will continue to work for the people of these islands and do all we can to promote youth, sports, culture, and heritage in the Cayman Islands and beyond their shores. Madam Speaker, I'd like to say thank you, and I do hope now that the Leader of the Opposition has seen what we're doing besides just a retreat. Thank you all very much, and God bless.
Personal explanations.
I have given leave to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to make a personal explanation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on Wednesday evening, in his contribution to the SPS debate, the Minister of Tourism, I believe, incorrectly accused me of having a direct pecuniary interest in Regen by virtue of my wife's employment with the DART organization. However, he did not explain to this Honourable House how that ascribed to me a direct pecuniary interest in Regen. And I might add, he can't. I note that he made his comments after I had left the confines of the chamber for the evening. Madam Speaker, it is important for us to understand what a pecuniary interest is. It is a financial interest that relates to money or profits which a member stands to either gain or lose from it. And a pecuniary interest can either be direct or it can be indirect. So what the member is implying is that somehow, some way, I directly stand to benefit or lose financially from Regen. Madam Speaker, it is no secret. Let me go first through with, he referred to Section 83 of the standing orders, which, with your permission, Madam Speaker, I read. Section 83(1) says, a member shall not move any motion or amendment relating to a matter in which that member has a pecuniary interest or speak on any such matter, whether the House or in any committee, without disclosing the nature of that interest, and shall in no circumstances vote on any such matters. Now, Madam Speaker, in fairness, there was no motion or amendment before on the floor of this House relating to Regen. And there was no vote or anything to be taken that evening with regard to Regen. We were debating the SPS, and I was debating it in my capacity as leader of the opposition. So none of the ingredients that this section of the standing order requires disclosure were present that evening. And, Madam Speaker, it is no secret that my wife works for the DART organization. She is the manager of education programs, and she's worked there for now over 12 years, long before Regen. In her capacity, she manages and mentors some 40 young people, Caymanians who have been awarded education scholarships for high school and for university. She also manages and organizes the local World's Robotics Competition, the Sea Perch Robotics Competition, Inter-School Maths Challenge, the school's chess competition, and a number of other STEM programs that benefit our youth. Madam Speaker, for the benefit of this Honourable House and those listening, it is important to note the following. My wife's position at DART does not place her in the chain of command at the organization. She has no role, either directly or indirectly, to play in the Regen project. There is no connection between her and Regen. And I might add that I am aware that the organization goes at great lengths because of my role in public life to isolate her from anything that they do with government, so that there can never ever be any sort of accusation of impropriety on her part. So, Madam Speaker, secondly, my wife's employment with DART is not contingent on the success or failure of Regen, nor is her compensation tied to the success or failure of Regen. I repeat, her work is not related directly or indirectly to the project. And finally, Madam Speaker, my wife's employment with DART is a matter of public record for anyone to see and to know. It is fully disclosed in my register of interests filed with the Commission for Standards on Public Life. Madam Speaker, in raising this matter late Wednesday evening, the Minister stated that he was not going to make a big deal of it. But that's exactly what he did, Madam Speaker. He made it one of the centerpieces of his wind-up on the SPOS debate. And again, he chose to do it after I was out of the chamber, not able to challenge or to respond. But, Madam Speaker, the Minister, it is clear to me that the Minister clearly does not understand what a direct pecuniary interest is. It really would behoove him to familiarize himself with the definition of the term. He didn't disclose what he thought that direct pecuniary interest was until he was challenged by the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. And in response, all he could say was, "My wife worked there." It's pretty poor, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to close this matter off, let me once again summarize things for the Minister. My wife works for DART. She has no direct or indirect link to or involvement with Regen. Her employment and compensation is not contingent on the success or failure of the Regen project, and her employment is a matter of public record. In short, Madam Speaker, I have no direct or indirect pecuniary interest in Regen that would have required me to disclose it to this Honourable House on Wednesday in accordance with Standing Order 83 when I was debating the SPS. So, Madam Speaker, I say to you, I thank you for the opportunity to make the clarification. And I'll just say to the Minister, don't do this again, man. We're friends. Different situation altogether. And I hear what you're saying, but I thank you for the opportunity to make the clarification, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for Tourism and Ports.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I, like the opposition member, wants this to be ended as well. But, Madam Speaker, in my 6 years in this Parliament, I know that the person who is the judge and the jury of this Parliament as to the interpretation of the standing orders is the person who sits in the chair upon which you occupy. So, Madam Speaker, for the Leader of Opposition to say that I should get familiar with the standing orders, I'm quite familiar with them. I recited them when I took my position last evening. And, Madam Speaker, I think it's for you.
Honourable Member, are you rising on a point of order?
Madam Speaker, is the Premier giving you directions as to what to do? Because I indicated, I saw an indication.
Honourable Minister. This is a personal explanation, so there's no room for debate. Elected member for West Bay West.
Our standing order says that there is no room for debate on a personal explanation. But you go to Erskine Mays, and if a matter is raised by a member complaining about another one, the member that is being complained about can just say that he refutes what was said.
Honorable Minister for Tourism and Ports, is there a matter that you want to raise in relation to the explanation that the Leader of the Opposition has just stated?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I just think that that it should be your say as to the interpretation as to the standing orders upon which I referred to in my SPS contributions, and not for the Leader of Opposition to have his interpretation of whether I was correct or not. That's your ruling, not his. The standing orders are as they are, and it's for you to determine whether or not my statement and my actions are the allegations as to what he said. And if you may recall, Madam Speaker, I clearly highlighted the fact that he had every right to talk about region, but he had a right to, he was obligated to disclose to this Honourable House when he was delivering. Now, Madam Speaker, again, we may differ, the Leader of Opposition and I, as to what the standing orders say per member, but if there is a disagreement between myself as the Minister and him as the Leader of Opposition, the ruler of that determination is you, Madam Speaker. So it's not for him to say that I'm wrong or he's right, but that is, in my humble opinion, Madam Speaker, my humble opinion is for you to make that determination.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. What I have seen here today in the explanation provided by the Leader of the Opposition is he was just providing clarity on the statements that were made in relation to the connection made in a statement. Deny, clarify, whatever. He's made a statement to express or elaborate on the connection with the DART organization. We please move on from here.
Obituary and other ceremonial speeches.
None.
Raising of matters of privileges.
None.
Oops. Government business, bills. First readings. Monetary Authority Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Companies Management Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Directors Registration and Licensing Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Insurance Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Money Services Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Securities Investment Business Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Virtual Asset Service Providers Amendment Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is now set down for a second reading.
Cayman Islands National Attractions Authority Bill 2023.
The bill has been deemed to have been read a first time and is set down for a second reading.
Second readings. Monetary Authority Amendment Bill 2023.
The Honorable Minister for Investment and Social Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just one query. I'm mindful that it's noon, and I don't want to stand in the way of members and their lunch as much as they would like to hear about the Monetary Authority. Would you like to offer, Madam Speaker, a lunch break?
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I think that this would be a good time to take a lunch break. We will resume at 1:30.